Capuchin Thalir online programs. This is part of the Solanas KC Holistic Welfare Center, Viluppuram in India. We give motivational trainings and empowerment for religious and lay leaders, formators and formees, teachers and students, families, parents and children. We also give counseling to the individuals and the communities and the families. We conduct retreats and monthly recollections. Welcome to Solanas KC Holistic Welfare Center. Contact the Director, Nitya, YFM CAP. totalexcellencenow@gmail.com. Dear brothers and sisters, I am very happy to invite every one of you for this online motivational sessions on leadership, part 1. We are very happy to have Reverend Father Francis Xavier, a Jesuit priest, to give us this week's session. Today, he will be speaking to us about biblical leadership, followed by the days to come on stress management and flow and conflict management, and again followed by time management, doing versus being. I am very happy to introduce Reverend Father Francis Xavier. Here comes Father Francis Xavier.
As I begin this sharing of my thoughts with you on the biblical leadership, I would like to say in short what I am going to say. You remember when God appeared to Solomon, he asked, "What do you want?" Solomon simply asked, discerning mind and understanding heart. That's all. A differentiating mind to distinguish right from the wrong, and understanding heart to understand the people as they are from their perspective. These are the two aspects that I will be going about in all my thoughts, so to say. So with this introduction, let me start my sharing screen. Now, we have different types of leadership. We have to find out what is my type of leadership. So here, we are all potential leaders. Some are visionaries. Some are able to give direction. Some are very good in strategic planning. Some are just managing. Some others could motivate others. Some could shepherd people. Some are very good in building the team. And some would be entrepreneurial in their approach. Some could re-engineer what others have undone, they could redo it. And some are good in building the bridge. All these are leadership. Now my question to you for discussion is, what is the type of leader I am? Whether I am a top-down leader or bottom-up leader, I will come to that later in detail. What we need is integrated leadership. A leadership is one who has to prove results. He has to show his or her achievements. At the same time, he is the one who builds relationship, meaningful and lasting relationship. If he can keep a balance between these results and relationship, then you are the best leader. Here I give different types of leaders. Take Moses, for example. He could be cited for knowledge. He has written minute legal things in the Bible. He would write about the equality and justice to the letter. He is a symbol of IQ, intelligent quotient. Come to Solomon. In addition to knowledge, he had wisdom. He could understand the people. You remember the two ladies coming and asking for claiming one child, he shows his wisdom. He would feel for the other. He is a sign of EQ, emotional quotient. Coming to Buddha, in addition to knowledge that Moses had and wisdom that Solomon had, he had compassion. He could become the other. And coming to Jesus, knowledge, wisdom, compassion, one other thing, justice quotient, JQ. He would say, the doctor is not for the healthy, but for the sick. And today we have one more quotient, that is ecological quotient, eco quotient. We need to have the elements of these, and it should be integrated of IQ, EQ, SQ, that is the spiritual quotient, JQ, and eco quotient. And what type of leadership we have? The expectation would be either local level or province level or global level. One should be a person of God, first and foremost, especially for a religious. He or she should be knowledgeable and should have wide experience. That gives the credibility. And it should be an inspiring person, easy to approach, should be a role model. And the person should have foresight, farsight, and insight. A person should have a good planning. He or she should be able to have good networking, at the same time resource mobilization. It's very important today that we mobilize resources. You should be this way able to connecting the dots. Wherever there is a gap, you should make it. And you should also learn time management where you can manage all. You should manage the work, you should manage the people, he should start managing himself for the work. And we can learn most of our leadership through Jesus. He's an inspiring leader. Look at him building up interpersonal relationship. He is ready to learn from people. He is willing to reveal himself. This woman, Samaritan woman at the well of Jacob, it is to her that he reveals that he is the Messiah. And a leader should express solidarity in crisis time. When everything goes all right, no problem. But when the crisis comes, you should be able to build a team that stay together, especially in time of crisis. And a leader should be a servant leadership. Look at the event at the marriage at Cana. When people need it, you should be there. So these are the things we learn from Jesus. And the model that Jesus has done in grooming his own disciples in 4 stages I would like to present to you. For Jesus, his public life was a transformational journey, shaping up his disciples in leadership arena. He knew after 3 years, it is these simple fishermen or simple people who are going to lead the church. First of all, you should be aware of yourself. Jesus was aware he was growing in the God consciousness. The second stage is he would be able to influence one by one. His vocation or his call of the disciple was one-on-one. There is no interview, no selection board. The third one is after calling one by one, you have to build the teamwork, because after Jesus, it is the team that is going to take care of the church and the world. In that team building, they should be able to get organizational upbuilding. That work was left entirely to the disciples after Jesus ascended into heaven. So the end effect of the leadership is each one should have self-confidence. It is Jesus' assumption as he was returning to Jerusalem, people also should return to Jerusalem. We read in the Gospels when Jesus ascended into heaven, the disciples returned back to the city with joy. They were not sad that Jesus is taken away from them because Jesus has formed them to do everything. Now, little bit in detail. The personal leadership of Jesus, his own perspective. He knew that he was sent to the world for a specific purpose. He knew and asked himself the question, who am I? Am I the Son of God or am I the Son of Man? What is my purpose? A leader should ask oneself, who am I? The second one, the shadow of that or the effect of that, whose am I? What is my meaning of my life? Where does my primary authority come from? Who is the audience for my life? In other words, what is the mission in focus? So this is oneself should be able to ask oneself and should become clear. The second one is we see Jesus meeting the disciples, whether they're fishing or sitting under the fig tree or in the customs house. He calls them one by one. That means he might have met them already. He might have befriended them earlier. That's why when he calls them, they are able to leave the customs house or their ship and boat and the net, they could follow. Building of trust is very important. When he called the people after prayerful reflection, which means he has evaluated each one, we also read after spending the whole night in prayer, he called one by one. When you call one by one, then there is one-to-one correspondence. Each one would be loyal to Jesus, but that is not going to help. They should be able to work. Jesus knew he is not going to be physically present with them all the time. So they should be able to work. And how do you do it? Because people were drawn from different cultures, from different backgrounds, building the team. How do you build the team? Start two by two. To build the community, Jesus builds the trustful relationship. Once you build the trustful relationship, the team slowly becomes bigger and bigger. Initially, he sends disciples two by two to the known territory. Later, little unknown territory. At the end, he will say, go to the whole world. So they two by two, when they go, they build up relationship, and then maybe 3 by 3 or 4 by 4, whatever it is, he will be able to do that. So this is a learning process. Each one learns the other, and a group is built up, and the group grows bigger, and then finally it becomes the church that will transform the world. At that point, Jesus will not be there, but the organizational, the community leadership will come. The church will start expanding from Jerusalem. It will travel all over, whether it is Rome or Antiochia or whatever it is, and the disciples will disperse into the world, which means effectiveness of formation. So this effectiveness is for the high performance, high human satisfaction. And there will be differences of opinions, different backgrounds, priorities, spiritual perspectives. What is important is, are we able to see together? Are we able to reconcile our differences of opinion? That there should be integral formation to interact in a positive way with people who disagree. Every now and then we read there is a disagreement among the disciples. Who should be the leader, or who should sit on the right hand or the left hand, all kinds of things. What is important is a leader should be able to walk the extra mile. A leader should be able to turn the other cheek. If you want to read more, read the book I have indicated here. That will give you a lot of information. So the leadership qualities are 4 qualities basically. This is by Chris Loney, Heroic Leadership. Chris Loney was a Jesuit. And after he left the Jesuit order, he was a very successful person in New York, and he summarizes the Jesuit formation. This reflects what I said, the Jesus formation of inviting the disciples. A leader should have self-awareness. The leader should know one's strength as well as the weakness. The leader should be able to face challenges, at the same time should be able to the opportunities. You should know what is opportunity, what is challenge. You should know the strength, and you should be able to accept your strength. That is the self-awareness. We are not perfect. If you are perfect, we'll be divine. We are human beings. But self-awareness is important. The second one is you should be a person of ingenuity. Innovation is needed. Creativity is needed. You should think out of box. Instead of asking why, you should be able to ask why not? Can we do this one different? A person should be innovative. And a person should love whatever he or she doing. You should be a person of passion. Put your heart and soul in the mission. Whatever be the work, in the religious congregation and orders, you are changed so many times. Your mission will be changed. Your countries might change. But are you able to do the work with your heart and soul? From there comes the heroism. I'm using the word magis, that is one of the hallmarks of the Jesuits. Magis means to do ever more, ever better. When Ignatius says greater glory of God in the service of fellow human beings, it is not greater glory of God that is I sit in prayer hours and hours. It is in the service of fellow human beings. The vertical relationship should be realized in the horizontal relationship. Very often we ask in the formation house, why Ignatius did not say for the greatest glory of God at one stroke he can do. Greater means there is no limit for that. You should be able to be better than the best. That is why he chose greater glory. So this is the heroism. What you can do it better, do it more. So these are the leadership qualities, not only religious qualities, any corporate qualities or any worldly leadership you should be able to do. But applying to the religious life, you can see, can you find God in everything? And can you see everything in God? It is not very easy. I remember a religious went to the doctor who has been checking his eyes and then said, brother, you are getting quint eyes. Quint eyes are not, the eyes looks like they're looking differently. He said, you are getting quint eyes. He replied, oh doctor, I have been trying to see God in my superior. This is what happens after so many years. That is not the way. You should be able to see God in not only superior, in others, and the superior also should be able to see the same. And then you should realize that self-realization is God realization. That is only through service. Ignatius would say, your salvation is in the salvation of the people you are serving. We might have been created individually, but we are not going to reach heaven individually. This is the leader's greatest conviction. That is what we have to work, find God in others, serve God in the service of others. Now, before I proceed further, I have given a summary of leadership. Father Nitya said whether there could be a break for 5 minutes and you could have a 5 minutes discussion, then we could continue. The question I would like to give you based on what we have seen, what type of leader I am. We are definitely a leader, but we should know what is my cup of tea, what is my leadership quality. That self-awareness would help us to learn more, to enrich ourselves. Is that okay, Father Nitya?
Yes, Father Francis, Father Xavier, thank you so much. It's a very good inspiration. And we are having around 428 members here. Father Ben will be dividing us into small groups of 5 each. And then you give us the questions, Father, so that we will take it to the groups.
What
Yes.
type of leader I am
Yes. Yes.
based on all these qualities? What is the quality that is predominant so that I am aware of all of us are leaders, but what is it that is predominant in myself?
Yes. Thank you, Father. Dear brothers and sisters, it's a wonderful group. So many of you are minister generals of the congregation, and many of you are provincials and the heads of the institutions. It's a wonderful to listen to what our own inner self is speaking, inner voice about this. What type of leadership I am behaving with, and what type of behavior I need to change. This will be a very good thing. May I ask Father Ben to lead us into group discussions, groups?
Any fear, there should not be any dismay, there should be clarity, conviction about the mission. How many of us are very clear about the mission, what in the secular term they call job description? And his work was a mediation between rules and regulations on the other side and the progress on other side. We have to make a bridge between the two. There will be some people who say, no, this is what we have been doing. Some people who say, we are fed up. Why don't we think of something else? How do you make the transition? How do you mediate? And also, you should be able to build an effective team. In the religious life, God calls each one individually, but the mission is not given to individuals. It is given to the community or to the congregation. It is not the individual, however competent you are, who is doing the work is the community or the congregation. And a leader's job is to draw a timeline for action and clear chain of command, subsidiarity principle. This is the area we make a mess. We don't recognize or we are afraid of delegating the power to our subordinates. Once you delegate the power, allow the person to function with understanding, you get the information. You are the captain, others are the one who are doing that. In that way, your leader is a steward. He's not the one who is running the show all the time. As I mentioned earlier, twofold purpose, relationship building and goal achievement. We call this one in Latin cura personalis and cura apostolica. That is care of the person, care of mission, two pillars of any congregation or any mission or any corporate body. You cannot sacrifice one for the other. You cannot cut out a person for a particular work, or you cannot suppress a work for the sake of the person. Both. Where do you find the balance? That is the leadership quality. The care of the person means understand the person as the person is. Each one is unique. Your experience may not be the experience of the other. You have to understand. Very often we say the others don't understand me, the superior doesn't understand me. I always ask, do you understand others? At the same time, the leader is one who empowers people, especially in the area of health, education, assignment. Each one should be able to do the work what he or she is capable of that. When it comes to the care of the mission, it should be realistic, achievable, and time-bound plan. As I mentioned earlier, resource mobilization, you may have a big plan running over 15 years, but you think your term will be 5 to 6 years. What can you do? Nothing wrong in having a 10-year plan, but you have a timeline for your term to accomplish it so that others could come and do that one. In both these, what are the principles that help you to understand the persons? Guidelines. What are the criteria? Objective. It is not subjective. Leadership, as much as possible, should be subjective. You should be able to explain why you are doing the way you are doing. You cannot say, I am the superior, I can do that. I am the provincial, I do that. There are certain things, we call it internal things, which you cannot divulge. That areas are reserved. But so as much as possible, we call it forum internum, forum externum. Internal things about a moral character of the person you may not be able to discuss, but external you should be able to explain. And the leader should be able to build common vision and make each one to contribute to that common vision to be realized. Each one should feel, I am somebody. I am also contributing. Sometimes in the congregation, people feel once you are retired, now you are a useless person, you are at the mercy of us. They have done their part. It is for us to respect them and honor them and thank them for all these things. So in this one also, the leader should have a clear goal setting. It's not enough to set the goal, periodic review, periodic evaluation. We are doing it actually. What is your examination of conscience if not an evaluation of the day? What is your monthly recollection if it is not a review of the month? What is your annual retreat if it is not an evaluation of your whole year? But do we do it when it comes to administration? We have to apply to that. We are doing it, but we should apply. And then when it comes to the care of the people, it is the entire person, not the work. People are not machines. They are not simply turnover. If you are a headmaster or a principal, 100% result. They are not the machines. They are people. The care of the person, individualized attention to the need. No two people will need the same thing in the same extent. Are you able to help them? So the formation should be, or the leadership should be in the head, in the heart, in the hand. The head should know things. The heart should have an attitude of understanding others. The hand should have the skill to perform. A leader should have a delicate balance between the head and the heart so that his hand is free to do the work. And the religious accompaniment is people in the community or in the team should feel that the leader is there with you. When the disciples are going in the boat, there is a storm. Jesus said, I am there with you. Why are you worried? Can people say, my superior, my leader is there with me? And also, the leader should build interpersonal relationship. In giving, we receive. It is not that people should follow my order, but am I understanding what they need? Only then there should be a mutual relationship because each one is a meeting point of God and human being. Each one carries a part of God. That's what we read in the book of Genesis. God created human beings in his image and likeness. So each one has got this image and likeness. We should be able to recognize that. We should be able to respect that. So we should be able to venerate or respect the people because each one is a representative of the same congregational society that you are. So simple thing is you appreciate people for their gifts and insights. I remember the story when Michelangelo came to work on the Sistine Chapel in Vatican, the previous owner sent a note of recommendation. They said, this young fellow, you can get infinite amount of work by coaxing, but criticizing, you cannot get anything from him. So coaxing you can do. It seems there was a cardinal who was very critical of Michelangelo. He was fed up with him. And if you go to Sistine Chapel, he created the Last Judgment. Some are in hell, and you can see the cardinal with his cardinal's hat in the hell. You put him in the hell. That much was his dislike for the people. But coaxing, you can get an amount of work. Even if you point out the mistake, do it so politely. That way you can help others. Watch them. Draw their attention. You can warn them. But to guard them all the time, what is important is you walk the talk. What you tell others, you practice. That's what Jesus said in the golden rule, do unto others what you expect others to do. So the superior should be the first person, our leader should be the first person to practice what he or she tells others. Then the next one is take care of the mission. You should have clarity about the mission. There should be timeline. It is not God will do it. God will definitely do it. But Ignatius will say, do as though everything depends on you. Then you pray as though everything depends on God. Don't do it other way about. So you should have a master plan, whether it is academic or temporal or financial, you should have a master plan. And you should have a roadmap. What is the roadmap for this community or this institution, for this province or this congregation with a timeline? Recently, that's last year, after 16 months of discussion and deliberations in all the 85 provinces, in all the communities, the Jesuits came up with the UAP, Universal Apostolic Preferences, for the next 10 years, 2019 to 2029. Based on that, each province has come up with PAP, Province Apostolic Preferences. Based on that, each community has come up with CAP, Community Apostolic Preferences. Based on that, we are recommending each one has to come with IAP, Individual Apostolic Preferences. It is like the Russian doll. One doll gets into the other doll. So the bigger vision, smaller vision, that way you are able to do. That way there is a perfect harmony between the two. And who does this one? It is the leader who has to do that. You should be able to have the corporate policy. Even in the bureaucracy, and to facilitate, you need a corporate policy. Very often we don't have that. We are having a lot of institutions. What is the policy? We are appointing people. What is the policy? Do you have the documents? Do you have anything that somebody goes to the court? Are you able to prove yourself? So you have to know a little bit about the management. You build a space for others. You should have financial planning. You should be able to run the show. Otherwise, administration would be in chaos. What is important is periodic evaluation. At least once in a semester or twice a year or once a year, there are various commissions are there. They should have evaluations and rethink based on the experience, replan, reformulate. This is a constant process. And what is important is fundraising and the accountability. So far, most of the congregations running very good schools and colleges, government aided. If you read the new education policy, all these things are going to have problem. There is even possibility of government nationalizing the schools and colleges. Are we prepared for that? So fundraising important. We may not be able to rely on the income of the schools and colleges, which are very lucrative so far. We may not be able to do that. For that, you have to train the persons. Find out who are important, who are talented, and then go. This is one of the main work of the leader. Find out who is capable of what, and then go ahead preparing that person for that. The disposition is another area for the leader. You should have the effectiveness of mind, heart, and hand. It's integrated formation. You should grow in knowledge. You should grow in skills. You should grow in attitude. Skills, for example, today during the pandemic period, all our teachers, whether schools or colleges, online teaching, how much we are keeping ourselves updated with that. And then ability to work with others. Today, it is not intra-congregation, inter-congregation, international work we have to do. Are we ready for that? So we should have creativity. We should have the competence. We should have the commitment. You should have compassion. All these things are the characteristic of that. And once you have all these things, then the role of God comes here. You work and then pray. Ultimately, if you have the inner peace and harmony with others, that is the culmination of leadership. You know, when I meant this cura personalis, I'm reminded of a provincial in the Jesuit order. The provincial's main job is to meet individual Jesuits in the place where they're working. They may be working in another country, but the provincial is supposed to go and meet them. There was a provincial and he was always in a hurry, but he met people. He will ask two questions, it seems. Question one, are you able to eat well? If the question is yes. The second question, are you able to sleep well? If the question is yes, okay, you are fine. People ask, what is the meaning of this? If somebody is able to eat well, he doesn't have any health problem. If somebody is able to sleep well, he doesn't have other problems. So it is fine with me. So this is the peace of mind and health one should have, and the disposition of the leader is to facilitate this one. So in short, the person should be a humane leader. The mindset is something that you understand the people, because if you understand inside, your outer reaction would be according to that. You should have a human touch, understand the person. And it is not mere approval of that. The leader is not just to give permission, understand, appreciate others. See the world of the other from his or her perspectives. And another one is be available to them, making time for everyone. Very often people say we are not able to see people. For that, you should have a time management. You should be able to distinguish between what is important, what is urgent. Most of the time, we are running after what is urgent, that is firefighting. But you should concentrate what is important. What is important? What is the best in 5 years from now, 6 months from now? Don't worry about today's crisis, tomorrow's crisis. At the same time, your superior should have accountability, especially financial accountability and time-bound planning. And also, it is good to have orientation program for all the people. Review the past, plan for the present, and work on the future. You would be able to do the best that you can. And the periodic review is something that is Ignatian pedagogical paradigm. You may be aware of that. Otherwise, you can read. It is also called integrated pedagogical paradigm. It is the spirit of learning. It is sharpening the focus based on the past experience, based on the present experiment, plan for the future. What is important is a leader cannot do everything, delegate the power and trust them. There is a subsidiarity principle, give each one autonomy, let them own the responsibility. You take the moral responsibility. And accordingly, you should be able to form the youth. Identify the personal and training them for that. Sometimes I tell people, why don't you send people for higher studies or send them for abroad? People say, no, they will go home. I said, that is not going to work. If somebody wants to go home, by going abroad, they may go only 1 year earlier, that's all. So that is not the point. Trust them, they will prove trustworthy. Building teamwork is another important, deliberations. There is, Ignatius makes a distinction between making the decision and taking the decision. When you discuss with your counselors or in the community, that is making the decision. You listen to them. But after listening to them, the superior has the sole right to take the decision. But don't do all the time taking the decision, make the decisions. And the collective responsibility is there. One should be very good in crisis management. Only when the crisis comes, your ability to govern comes into the picture. Otherwise, routine work, it goes, how much you can coordinate. In summary, what is important, you should be committed and you should be competent. The competence is one that you have to grow every day. So based on this, one should be, on the one hand, loyal to the Lord, because one gets the authority from the Lord. But this authority is for the service of the people. You are not only account to God, but account to the people, because you are making a bridge between God and people. I give 2 examples. How do you take the stand? Abraham, always he bargains with God. Will 50 people do? Will 45 people do to stop destroying Gomorrah? With 10 people will do? All the time a begging mode, a bargaining mode. But Moses will take the stand with the people. When God says, I'm going to destroy the people, Moses will say, don't do that. Is this for this you brought the people out? God relents. But sometimes God will say, no, I am going ahead, but I will write you in the book of life. Moses will say, please don't write me in the book of life. That is not what I need. I take my stand with the people. What happens to the people, let it happen to me. You don't give me preferential option. Which leadership you have? So are you on the part of God or are you on the part of people? You are going to God only with the people. You are not going alone. So this is what you should remember when you exercise authority. Are you people-oriented or work-oriented? Are you like Joshua who says, this is the role, follow it? Or as Gideon would say, I follow the people. I am the conscience of the people. Or you are going to have a corporate model, I have the power, I do it. Which model you are going to do that one? So you should be able to do that. Ultimately, love of God is love of neighbor, that we have to do that. Now, the Moses model is there, as I mentioned to you, he says, these people have sinned, okay, but I am with them, forgive them. If not, I am with the people. What happens to the people? I take my lot with the people because I have taken the stand with the people. And if you come to the Joshua, he's a man of humility, but he's a man who is to the letter of the rule. He was trained by Moses for 45 years. He was man of faith and trust in God. Fine, he could make Jericho fall down just like that. But at the same time, he could face resistance from the people. He put his trust in God. He was obedient to God. Within him, there was courage and confidence. And he was able to build a team, and he was able to act decisively, and he was a man of responsibility, leading people into the promised land. But he would say, follow me, then I can lead you. This is the rule. If you don't do it, you are done for. Whereas if you go to Gideon, he's a kind of person who was not able to decide. God called him when he was reaping his harvest. And he will listen to the people. He will listen to the inner voice. Always he will not say, I know everything. He's a diffident person. And he was man who was not controlled by fear, and he would say, I have to go with the people. He wanted friends around him. He wants people to support him. He is the one who wants to work with clear goal. He will study the situation. He would need a timeline, and he will deal with the others critically, and he will go and he will seize the opportunity, and he will have insight, foresight, and foresight, but he would command respect. He will always go with the people, but a reluctant person. He will always check. He's not a confident person like Joshua. Joshua was very clear. This is what I'm going to do. Either you follow me, or you get out. Whereas Joshua, he wants to be with the people who wants to move along. So if you compare Joshua and Gideon, Joshua in the modern world terminology, top-down leadership. He was well trained and delegated by Moses. So military regime, I command, you obey. He was aggressive administrator, do or die mode according to him. But if you go to Gideon, Gideon will say bottom-up leadership. What is the mind of the people? How do I understand my people? And can I go against the people? So because he felt himself one among the common people. He had problem in deciding. You remember the famous one when God called him, he put test, the fleece and the dew. You are very familiar. I don't want to detail into the thing. because he was not able to decide. And he did not have much experience, but people ridiculed him. At one point, people did not even give him food, but he had absolute dependence on God. Once God said, get ready for the war, and he was able to get 20,000 people, and God says, no, that is too much. Can you reduce it? He reduced to 10,000 people. God says, that is too much. He reduced 300 people, and God said, that's enough. With that, he was able to meet thousands of people because he was a man of the people, a man who trusted in God. So even though people could ridicule him, he had faith in God. Very often, this is the scenario. People may criticize you, but what does your conscience say? If your conscience says you are okay, you are okay, and the rest you take it to God, then you will feel at home in that thing. Finally, you have to be a servant leader. A servant leader is someone who is open to help people in need, even unknown people. A person should have unconditional love, even to the people whom we don't know, disadvantaged and vulnerable. This is the reason you can see in the case of the Good Samaritan, the priest and Levi, they are duty bound. Nothing wrong in that. If they see a dead body or touch a dead body, they cannot perform their sacred duty. But God would put the Samaritans' good work above that. The Samaritans are, like in today's language, untouchables or tribals or the Dalits, they were looked down. This is what Martin Luther King said, judge not by color of skin, by content of character. Very often we have prejudice against others. Can you transcend that? Can you show compassion? Can you love others, people whom we are meeting? Can you be free from prejudice? The judgment should be free from prejudice. Your decision should be free from preconceived. Already that is great for the people. So the help for the people should be without any expectation, especially when you help the marginalized, the people who are disadvantaged. You remember the book by Father Tony DiMello? He says, a bird sings the song not because he's obliged to sing a song, it has a song to sing. It sings whatever time it is. It feels like we are leaders and religious. We help others not because we are bound to help, it is our vocation. We are called to help others. That is what Jesus said, do to others what you would have them to do to you. And then I want to narrow down to this one. This is the portrait of religious leader. I have taken it from the constitutions of the Jesuits in the section 9.2. Ignatius portrays the characteristic of the religious leader, Jesuit general. He gives 6 characteristics. You should be a man of prayer. You should feel at home with God. You should have emotional maturity, not only intellectual, emotional, amiable person, no prejudice. And you should have intellectual stature, the sound judgment, prudence, a man of discernment. You should be a man of efficiency, ability to get things done. If you can't do it, delegate your work to others. They will be able to do that. You should have a reasonable help. He puts that reasonable help. You need stamina to carry out your duty. And finally, you should have esteem and reputation. And Ignatius says, we know very well one will not have all these 6 qualities. It's very clear. One cannot have all these 6. But at least the person should be an upright person with love for the congregation. The second, the person should have sound judgment without prejudice. And third, sufficiency in learning. So he narrows down to the 3, and the 3 you can put, it should be a person of discernment. Discernment is where your decision synchronizes with your gut feeling and with your prayer. So there I want to end the characteristic of a leader. We have another 15 minutes or so. If you have any clarification or questions I can ask. The picture in the photo you see in the picture is the church that was built by Akbar for the Christians. It is somewhere near Taj Mahal, that is the Agra. Thank you very much. I once again thank Father Nitya for the invitation. I thank you for your listening patiently. I am very grateful to this opportunity. Thank you very much.